Hey, what's up guys? So got a pretty cool duel between two decks that I want to say just don't get represented enough, and that is the new Jack Knights versus the new Altergeist. These are both the new decks, and there is a card called Scars Caused by the World Legacy, and it might get pulled off in this duel, which is something that I wanted to base this deck around. If you happen to get 8 or more Jack Knight monsters in your graveyard with different names, you can banish 8 of them. And what you can do is you can send all cards in your opponent's hand and extra deck to the graveyard. Now, the Altergeist and the Jack Knight both have some Link monsters. Heck, almost every new archetype basically has to have Link monsters. That's just kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh is. But the Altergeists have a different kind of a playstyle. I want to say they're more passive. They kind of just rely off of their traps. And how the Jack Knights works, I did kind of cover them, but I want to talk about them a little bit more because with the meta right now just being kind of stale, I wanted to just showcase off something a little bit different here. But the Altergeist really rely off of this card. Protocol is really great, so the activation and the effects of Altergeist cards cannot be negated, and whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send one other face-up Altergeist card you control to the graveyard, and you get to negate the activation and actually get rid of the card. So it's actually pretty strong over here. You guys see he's just negating some stuff. And the Jack Knights are all about having 2 or more cards in the same column that just let you just special summon. So obviously this is a card in column, they put 1 card in their back row. They're going to be having access to just being able to special summon monsters, and they have to have like kind of a towers, if you will, so you guys can see. He's going to activate the effect of Lavender Dusk over here, and a lot of them again have that effect of being able to just being special summon, as right now all of them do. And then he's actually activating the effect of banishing 8 of them, and he just got rid of the guy's entire extra deck. Which I actually, again, wanted to build the deck all around the Scars Caused by the World Legacy. Unfortunately, it's just too hard of a card to pull off in a realistic duel. But Altergeists are a slower deck, and they definitely rely off of being a little bit slower here, and again, revolving around their spell and traps. Again, Protocol is like one of like their best cards. I also have another card called Materialization. So you target an Altergeist monster in your graveyard, you special summon it, and you equip it, and then when this card leaves the field, you destroy the equipped monster, and you can banish the card from the graveyard, then target an Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it's actually really good because you can target just any. There's no like restrictions on it other than just being an Altergeist trap. But that can get this card. Obviously, making it so your opponent can't actually negate anything that you're doing is pretty strong. I'm sure a lot of you guys notice a lot of the hand traps just stopping stuff these days, but he's going to go ahead and actually activate that effect. A lot of the Jack Knights have the effect of either like, usually they add one from like the graveyard, one of them searches from the deck. Like they all have the ability just to add like another like card. Basically, most of the cards like kind of get like 1 extra advantage here. But the Altergeists, they got no extra deck, and this guy's still going off. Letheon and Luan, you guys are both playing some really cool decks. So shout outs to both of you guys for just playing non-meta, because I get a lot of replays that are kind of, again, similar stuff that we've already seen, but this is something a little bit different, and pretty cool to see some underrated decks right now. Who knows if they will be good in the future with maybe some better support, but I think this is the one where it lets you, okay, there's one of them where, okay, this is the one where, you can return 1 other Altergeist card you control to the hand, then target 1 card your opponent controls and bounce back. So, I guess they changed the name. Silquitios over here bounces back cards, and then this one, when it is normal summoned, you get to just set an Altergeist trap directly from your deck. I guess one thing that would, I guess, beat this deck really easy is like Royal Decree or Jinzo going back into the decks, although Jinzo would probably be bounced back anyways. We see the Flame Administrator. I didn't even know that this was a card. It just makes it so all Link monsters you control gain 800 attack. You can only have 1 of them, but interesting thing, it requires 2 Cybers monsters. Really just random stuff over here, and he actually beat his opponent. That was a really good duel. I mean, he only had 400 life points. Both of you guys and Letheon, you guys both played it really well over here. But again, these are just 2 interesting decks that I want to show for you guys. And then if you guys wanted the deck profile, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you guys as they have shown off in the replay. So again, these decks are kind of early on. I think that potentially they might get more support later down the line. But for right now, you guys kind of just got to max out on like multiple copies of each thing. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump to the deck profile for those of you guys that might want to check out the deck. I don't want to say that these decks are like really strong right now. I mean, they're not like terrible decks, but the thing is that when you're competing against, you know, spirals, it's a little bit more difficult simply because it is a newer archetype. But again, they might get some more support later. So if you guys want to, you know, get an idea or a core concept ready, you can maybe use this as some reference, guys. But for those of you guys that have maybe played the deck, let me know if you guys would make any suggestions. I'm not really too familiar with Jack Knights or the Altergeist myself. I've played against them and I tried messing around with them. Like I said, I tried to build the deck. I used Grass is Greener with this card, and I just tried to mix it in with like Lights one. It was a little bit difficult to actually pull off. I tried running a 60 card deck, but that's a video topic for another day. But anyways, for the Jack Knights, again, there's only like a few cards of each of these in the archetype, so we're just maxing out. So we have 3 copies of Lavender Dusk. I actually did a video like on these, but basically, what is this one? So they have the effect where if there's 2 or more cards in the same column, you can special summon them, and then you can only special summon one of that specific color. So like there's like the Lavender Dusk, Cobalt, Crimson, Golden Blossom, Verdant Gale, and then Amber Shade. All of them have that effect where you can only summon like one of like each one. So we're not going to go over that effect. But anyways, it has another effect. Once per turn, this way, as a quick effect, you target one Jack Knight monster you control, banish until the next time of phase, and if you do, you get to add a Jack Knight monster from your deck to your hand except for itself. And a lot of them have the effect where you can only activate their effects once per turn that way, and you can only summon them once per turn that way. So this guy, he banishes a Jack Knight monster, and then he'll be able to search out another one. Then we have the Cobalt Depths over here. Again, special summoning the same way. As a quick effect, you can target one Jack Knight monster you control, move that monster you control into another of your main monster zone. So what that can do is that can allow you to special summon another monster, because now that the other zone that you probably used to special summon one of the Jack Knights, you're able to then special summon like another one in the zone. Next up, we have Crimson Lotus. So this one makes it so you can banish one Jack Knight monster from your graveyard and target a face-up monster on the field and the same card's column and destroy it. So this can also kind of work well with the Cobalt Depths over here. And then next up we have Golden Blossom. So Golden Blossom has the effect of once per turn you can banish a Jack Knight monster from the graveyard and get rid of a spell or trap on the field in the same column. So this whole archetype is all about the columns. And then next up we have the green guy over here. The green guy makes it so when this card declares an attack on an opponent's monster in the same column, you can target a Jack Knight monster graveyard and add it back to your hand. Then we have the Amber Shade. This one makes it so you can if this opponent's card in this card's column is destroyed in battle or leaves the field, you can special summon one Jack Knight monster from your hand. And then lastly, for the Jack Knights, we have the blue guy, the Azure Sky, and his effect is to, if this card is no more special summon, you can add a Jack Knight monster with different names from your deck to your hand, except for Jack Knight Azure Sky, equal to the number of opponent's cards in the same card's column, so you can potentially get some extra free advantage with him over here. And then the rest of the cards are going to be Gofu. Actually, Grinder Golem wouldn't be like a bad addition to the deck. Maybe you have some cards to survive. But Gofu is probably just still better overall. I also considered running Level Eater into the deck because you can just get out extra free cards, and that's always good for any Link deck. Next up, we have Link in Full Flare over here. So you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Link monster points to. You can only special summon Link in Flyer once per turn this way. So it's just like an extra card kind of as a stepping stone. I really don't recommend this card, but it is technically there. Then we have One Day of Peace, Reasoning, Upstart, 3 copies of Key to the World Legacy. So you just target one of your banished Jack Knight monsters or World Legacy cards, and you get to add it to your hand. Then when an opponent's card or effect is activated in the same column, you get to actually negate that effect. That's actually really good. So if you know your opponent is playing something, you just throw this down in the same column. Really good stuff. It can kind of work well against something like I was gonna say Altergeist, but not the Protocol. I believe is the one where it says like you can't negate them anyways. But yeah, it can technically still be used against that deck. It's just because you're gonna know what they're gonna be setting face down. I mean, there's a lot of archetypes where like they get to search out a card and place it face down, and obviously you're gonna know what the heck it is. Or if they activate a card that searches out a specific card, that can be good for that too. And then we have Scar's College with the World Legacy. That's the card where you banish 8 of them, and then yeah, you get to send all cards from your opponent's field and also all cards in your opponent's. Oh, I'm sorry. You get rid of Jack Knights from your graveyard and or face up on your field. You send all cards in your opponent's hand, and their extra deck to the graveyard. And that can just like be game against certain decks. Could you guys imagine playing against a synchro player, just be like, okay, no more extra deck for you? They just lose at that point. And the next up, we have 3 copies of each of the Whispers of the World Legacy and True Depths. So when this is activated, you get to target a 5 or higher monster on the field that gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn, even when it leaves the field. Then when an opponent's spell card or effect is active in the same column, you get to negate that, but the Altergeist stuff cannot be negated, so it kind of counters, it's kind of counterproductive against that like matchup. And then we have the True Depths of the World Legacy. So you target level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then when an opponent's monster effect activated in the same column as a direct monster you control resolves, you get to negate that effect, but it's not going to be negated because Altergeist, they counter the Jack Knights. I guess technically it's kind of in their favor, but because of the protocol, which makes it so they cannot stop it. But anyways, let's go ahead and check out the other. Oh, my bad. You know what? I didn't go over the extra deck. I'll mouse over it real quick. So we have 1 copy of Skull Elite, 3 copies of Jack Knight of the World Star. This is their version of like a boss monster. So as long as there's no cards in the same column as this card, which it's pretty easy for your opponent just to be like, oh, okay, so I'm a card and there. But anyways, it can attack directly. But if this card in the extra monster zone does not point to a monster, it cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. Also, they cannot target with card effects, and you assign 1 other card you control in this card's column in the graveyard to special summon 1 directed monster from your deck in defense position. And then like oops, I scrolled too fast. Alright, that was on the wrong thing to scroll. It basically is like a boss monster of the deck. And then you can special summon a Jack Knight in defense position, but pretty much once you like summon this card, it can be definitely a huge threat for certain decks to deal with him. And then we have the Summon Sorceress. It's just been like kind of like a stepping stone, just a popular card because you just special summon another like extra card over here. And then we got the what is it? Oh, I forgot what the name is. I think it's too far, but anyways, it's the World Chalice Priestess over here. I think it's Eve, but I think they might have changed the TCG name. Anyways, we got Trigate Wizard. We got the Akashic Magician, Binary Sorceress, Flame Administrator. Honestly, I have no idea why this guy in here, but he's here. Then we got Land Full Links. It's just a vanilla. It's just, again, most of these cards use this. I guess they're just used for Link and Flyer right here. And then we have Security Dragon. And then for the Altergeist deck profile, we have 3 copies of the Altergeist Kun Query. So over here. So when opponent's monster declares an attack like a battle failure, you can if you control an Altergeist card, you can special summon it, negate the attack, and then if this card is special summoned, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and negate the effect while it and this monster are face up on the field. So after you go for your Link stuff, well, obviously it's going to go away. But yeah, well, this guy didn't even need Link monsters, which was pretty impressive in here. Next up, we have 3 copies of the Marionetter. And when it's normal summon, this is one you get to set one of them directly, like I mentioned in the video. And then we have the Silquitios over here. This one is the one that lets you bounce back, like I mentioned before. And then if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to target an Altergeist trap and add it to your hand. Actually, I think a lot of them have that effect. You can. This is one where you can set one directly when it's normal summon, and then you can target an Altergeist card you control 1 other Altergeist monster graveyard. Send that card on the field to the graveyard, and if you do special summon that other monster, so this lets you cycle through your cards. And then we have the Milo Seek. For the Altergeist, and this card can attack directly. Okay, so yeah, I remember there was a card that can attack directly, but whenever it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard, which actually does not destroy it, which can actually help out. But if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand except for itself, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So they're all spellcasters, so they work well with like the spellbook like support. So we got the triple copies of the Spellbook of Knowledge, just basically just draw power. We have the double summons. We have 3 copies of Demise because the whole deck is really reliant off of the traps over here. And we have 3 copies of Secrets, 3 copies of Duality, 2 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcaster, because they have new spellcasters. We have 3 copies of the Materialization, so this lets you target a Altergeist monster in your graveyard, you special summon it, and then on top of that you can banish the card from the graveyard and target an Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And then obviously when this goes away, the other monster goes away because it's an equip card. And then we have 3 copies of the Camouflage. So this makes it so you can target Altergeist monster you control, equip this card to it, and then your opponent cannot target for attacks, but does not prevent your opponent from attacking directly. And then negate an opponent's monster effect that it activates by targeting the equipped monster. And if Altergeist card or cards you control would be destroyed by battle by card effect, you could actually banish the card from your graveyard instead. And then we have 3 copies of Protocol, which makes it so they cannot negate your stuff. Then you send an another face-up Altergeist card to the graveyard to negate the activation and get rid of a card. And then we have the personal spoofing. So once per turn, you can shuffle one other Altergeist card from your hand and or your face up from your field into the main deck, and then add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand, which can be this guy that usually lets you get back like the traps to kind of get your deck going. But as far as the extract goes, we didn't see in the replays. But anyways, we got Tyrus, we got Utopia lineup over here. Then we got number 41, 2 copies of Castell, 1 Phantom Knights of Breaksword, 1 Decode Talker, 1 Power Code Talker, 2 copies of Altergeist, Prime Banshee. So this is one of their link monsters. So this one requires 2+ Altergeist monsters, and during the main phase as a quick effect, you contribute 1 other Altergeist monster to special summon 1 Altergeist monster from your deck to your zone that this card points to. And then if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you turn an Altergeist card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. You can use each effect of it once per turn. And then we have the Alistair, the Meltdown Invoker. So this one just requires 2 monsters with different types and attributes. And then we have Altergeist Hextia over here, Hextia. So it requires 2 Altergeist monsters and gains attack equal to the combined original attack of all Altergeist monsters this card points to. And then when a spell trap or effect is activated as a quick effect, you contribute an Altergeist monster that this card points to, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, target. You get to add 1 Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of it once. This effect of it once per turn. Oh, dang it! It's like scrolling too fast. But that's the Altergeist deck. That's the Jack Knight deck. 2 decks that I felt like they were just not necessarily like underrated in terms of like metagame, but they just don't really get talked about that much. And I like seeing kind of like different things in Yu-Gi-Oh once in a while, even though everything nowadays is just Fireball Dragon for days. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed seeing something a little bit different. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos.